Hey everybody, this is Josie with Cedar Creek Homestead, and here we are again, about to have another little heart-to-heart tonight, and before long we'll be able to maybe set out on the porch or some other places on the farm, and I'm thinking about going down maybe to the creek and sit out there and have a conversation with you and enjoy some different places that are beautiful and relaxing out here on the farm, just to kind of give you a different perspective so you're not always looking at my furniture. But anyway, I wanted to come and talk to you today. First, I want to say thank you to all the cards and letters that I've been getting and the little gifts that people have been so thoughtful to send to me, and I sure appreciate everything. I've gotten some canning jar lids from some different ones, and a little adult coloring book with markers and just different things, and flower seeds, marigold seeds, and all of these little things, all these little ways that people have found to reach out to me and to say we love you and that we're thinking about you, and I sure appreciate it. I'll never be able to repay it all other than just to say thank you, and to know that it means a lot to me to know that people care and reach out like they do. And I never thought it. I never even dreamed that I'd be doing this, because I'm not a person that puts myself out there. But God had another plan. Anyway, today I wanted to kind of come to you and talk about back to basics. And there's this song that's quite a few years old now. The first time I heard it, I think it's been put out there, whatever they call it in the music world. But anyway, it's called Back to Basics, and it talks about needing to get back to basic. And the verses talk about how we have changed. The newest thing is to figure it out, and changing our minds, changing our thoughts. And I'll have to read the verse, because I tell you guys every time I have to write stuff down, and I really do. It says, the first verse says, "Turn the page, for a new day has dawned." And I think that we can all agree with that a new day has dawned here in the U.S. and all around the world. But, we're here, so we're focused on the changes here. We've rearranged what is right and wrong. So they've changed places, and people are preaching the things that have been taught to us all these years are wrong, and these other ways are right, and they have rights, and they have their opinions to those things, and we should accept it and just take it on, because we're wrong if we don't. That's how life is today. That's how their thought process is. Then it goes on to say, somehow we've drifted too far from the truth, that we can't go back home. That's sad. The chorus says, we need to get back to the basics of life: a heart that is pure and a love that is blind, faith that is fervently grounded in Christ, and hope that endures for all times. And I was thinking about this song, and the verses running through my head, the chorus running through my mind, and thinking about how true, way back when I first heard that song, how true it was then, and even more so now, that we've turned a page on the things that we've always stood for in this country, and quickly we're walking away from it. We actually, sometimes I think we're running away from the values and the things that we held to in the past, and we're trying to quickly go in and adopt things that that really goes against the beliefs that a lot of us hold dear, the things that we've been taught. Now, of course, y'all know I'm not talking about the things that are ugly from our past. Of course, as a nation, we need to learn from the things of the past and learn that they were wrong and move on from them. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about our very basic core beliefs and our morals and our standards and our values of decency that we had. I mean, we're going to get ourselves in trouble. We're already on our way, and we just, we need to really think about the basics of life. Today, we have people that are pushing unbelievable ideas on us, even into our grade schools and the smallest of children. Now, when you're in a rural area like I am, or in some of the more conservative states, not all of those things are in our school systems yet, but they're coming. They slowly but surely trickle in, and before you know it, your city, your town, your rural school will be considering things that is just kind of crazy in our way of thinking. But they're bringing stuff into the school system that, in my opinion, it doesn't really belong there at all. There's things, and the age that they're beginning to teach children things is just mind-boggling to me. That we have kids that their test scores in math and reading and science and history and all those things are low, and they're concentrating on teaching them things that needs to be taught at home, I think. Okay, if we're also in a place that if you don't accept the ideas of a really relatively small group of people, they're out to silence you. If you stand up for somebody that maybe they didn't make the best decision, maybe they didn't have the best day and they said something that they shouldn't have said, or they done something that they shouldn't have done. If you stand up for that person as the person that you know them to be, not that you're condoning what they did, not that you believe what they believe, but you're standing up for them as a person because you know them, they're also out to get you. They're not satisfied. They're not satisfied with you saying, well, I can overlook that. They're, once and they're done. If you don't join hands in unity with people that are preaching something that's totally against your thoughts and your ideas, they also want to push you out and get you out of the way. I'm trying to be very careful with what I say. I don't want to get in trouble. So, they want you to stand with them regardless of what they're saying, because they have a right in this country to say what they want to say. At the same time, they're telling you that you don't have a right to say what you want to say or believe the way that you want to believe. Now, we're fooling ourselves if we think it's going to stop with just a few little children's books and cartoons and some toys down the toy aisle. We're fooling ourselves. If we allow this stuff to continue to happen here in the United States and it's spreading like a disease to other countries, they won't stop. They'll have everything under a microscope and telling you every single thing that you can and you cannot have. I'm concerned, and I've mentioned this to some of my family members, some of the things that are getting stamped out, done away with, leads me to believe that it's working up to a bigger thing. How long do you think it'll be before they start looking at Bible stories and other things and saying, hey, excuse me, pardon me for just a second, guys. How long do you think it'll be before they say, hey, that is against this group, or that's against this, or that speaks against this behavior that we want to participate in, so we're getting rid of that? If you think that they won't do that, I think that we are fooling ourselves. Howie told a story about when he was a little boy and used to go to church downtown in Gore. And his Sunday school teacher was telling the children that they needed to learn what the Bible says. Not just be able to read the Bible, not just to be able to repeat a Bible story. And you go to Sunday school that many years and you're able to tell the story of Jonah or David and Goliath or Daniel in the lion's den. You know those stories. But to really know the words of the Lord, this Sunday school teacher was really impressing that upon those kids. And she told them, she said one day it could get to a place here in the United States that they take your Bible, and if you have hidden the word in your heart like the Lord tells us to in the word, hide that word in our hearts so that we know what it says, that we don't sin against him. You know, once it's in here and in here, they if there came a day where they actually took your book, you've still got it here. And that really impressed upon Howie, and he read his word, he studied the word, he could tell you, Howie was able to tell you Bible stories, and I was amazed that he would be able to tell stories when he was preaching that I thought, I've never heard that. I don't know that it could have been, I just read it and just, that's all I did was just read it, and I read right over the Bible story. And so I'm thinking that there's a possibility that one day they could say, we don't want those because they teach this way, or they preach this way, or they are speaking out against something that we want to participate in. Folks, I think that's a very real possibility. I'm not prophesying that. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying in my daily thought process and thinking, I can see a real danger in something like that happening when you open a Pandora's box of doing away, stamping out all these other things. I heard a news story about a school, and I didn't hear if it was a private school or if it was a college or what it was, but they had a whole list of things that they were telling their students that they did not want them to say. Pronouns are wrong. You can't use he, she, him, her. You know, pronouns are wrong. Forget what you learned in your 8th grade English class. You no longer can you use those things. Titles such as mom and dad are supposed to be offensive to some, or, you know, I don't really understand that one because I don't know how anybody could really be offended by mom and dad, but apparently there's some are. You can't say Merry Christmas and some of those other holiday names. And then you can't use terms of endearment. Sweetheart, honey, sweet pea. And as a southern girl, southern woman, I guess I should say, getting ready to be one of the older gals, maybe I can get away with it some, but here in the South, that's just the way we speak, and we don't mean anything by it. But I have been one time, it makes me think of a story. One time we were at this restaurant, a bunch of ladies, we had went on a women's ministries trip, and a whole bunch of us were sitting around a big table, and the waiter was taking care of everybody, and I'm sure he was being nice because he was earning his tip, you know. And so he was saying sweetie and this and that to the different women. I didn't think anything of it, but one of the ladies in our group did, and she chastised him for that. She said, you don't know me. She really got, pretty stern with him, and it just kind of took me back because I didn't think anything about it. I didn't think that anybody would get offended by those words. I say those words to this day. I don't say them to fellas, to men, except my son, and he just kind of rolls his eyes at me, and I'll always say that to him because he's my son. But to other women and to little kids, I use those terms of endearment just simply because that's the way I was raised, and that's what I say. But see, here I am out in the middle of Oklahoma, and I am offensive. I didn't plan to be, but apparently I'm offensive because I say those things. But see how just a little thing, they say the little foxes spoil the vine. That's in the Bible. And I think that we're going to find out all those little tiny nibbles, all those little pecking away at stuff is going to do a lot of damage that we can't reverse on our own. We're going to be in trouble because of all this stuff that we're trying to get rid of. When I was a kid, of course, there was a whole bunch of us kids, and we usually had friends over playing. And I had my little friend Kimmy over, and we were in the I was in the 4th grade, and she was in the 3rd grade. And back then, we were teeny tiny little kids, you know. And those were the days where you come up with your own games, your own things to play with. And so we all got together, me and Kimmy, and then my 3 oldest brothers, and we thought it would be fun to get inside of a barrel, you know, like, well, we used them for burning barrels, you know, burn our trash in, you know, the 55-gallon drums. And so we thought it would be fun to get in the barrels, and roll. Our yard was kind of sloped, and then there was a fence, a barbed wire fence, and then it went down into the holler. And so Kimmy and I were the first ones to try it. So we got in this burning barrel, and the boys rolled us up the hill there in our yard, and then they let go, and it rolled, and the fence stopped it, bounced us back. And so that was fun. And so we did it again. 2 or 3 times we did it, and everybody ha-ha'd, and it was fun, and we didn't see that there was any kind of danger. So this last time, my brothers rolled the barrel back. Kimmy and I got inside of it, and the boys let it go. Probably a little bit more forceful than what they had been doing. And that barrel rolled down to the fence. When it got to the fence, instead of the fence stopping it that time, the barrel rolled right over the fence and down, rolling into the holler we went. Now Kimmy, she fell out about halfway, and this holler, rolling down in the holler, it wasn't like, you know, you see on these movies, the rolling hills, and you know, you see the little kids rolling and having fun, and like with the story of Jack and Jill, and all these ones where the hills were just nice sloping grassy hills. Well, that wasn't what this was. This was going down into the holler, and so there was briars and scrub brush and little sapling trees and rocks, and like I said, Kimmy fell out halfway and got all scratched up, and I managed to stay all the way to the bottom. But it was a rough ride, and I got hurt. Not really bad, but hurt bad enough that I didn't get in the barrel anymore. And, you know, as kids, we didn't see the danger in that. We just thought it was a fun game. And the fence was there to stop us. And that's what we trusted in, was that fence. We thought, you know, as long as that fence is there, we're okay. And what happened was, every time we rolled that barrel into the fence, in our childish wisdom, we didn't see it, the fence was getting weaker and weaker and weaker. And then all of a sudden, that very last time that barrel went, it hit that weak spot, and it couldn't hold anymore, and it sent us right on through. And that's what's happening here today in the United States, is we're doing all this stuff, and it's getting weaker and weaker and weaker. And one day, the fence is going to let go, the dam's going to break, and it's going to be too late. It's going to wash on downstream if the dam breaks, and, you know, then the damage is done. What can we do? If you see danger ahead and you could spare someone from being hurt, I think that we would do that, wouldn't we? You would run and you'd do everything you could to stop them from that danger, to stop them from harm coming to them or to their families or to their property. It makes me think of when Blade was little. He was such a cute little boy, and I guess we all think our kids were. But I had this dream about him, and it was, you know, sometimes you have a dream and it is so real, you wake up just in a fear and a sweat because the dream was so real to you. Well, I had this dream about Blade, and he was probably maybe 2 at the time, and I dreamed that we were at my mom's house, and Blade had broke away from me, and he was bad to do that, and he would just take off running at full force, whatever he was wanting to do. If he saw a puppy or if he saw a bicycle, whatever it was, and he wanted to do that, That's what he was going to do. And in this dream, he had broke away from me, and he was a long ways off from me, and there was a vehicle there that was backing up, and I could see that he was going to get hit by this vehicle. And in my dream, I ran as hard as I could run. And you know how it is in a dream. You're giving it everything you've got, and you're not moving. You're not going anywhere. And I was doing everything that I could to save him from being hit by this vehicle. So when I woke up, of course, I was all shook up about that. And poor little Blade, for the longest time after that, I would say several years, when we would go anywhere, I had him by the hand. He didn't have me by the hand. He wasn't, you know how, sometimes you'll let them get a hold and just kind of barely walk around. That was not the way it was. I had him by the hand or his wrist, and he was not getting away from me, because I had that fear instilled in me that that baby was going to get ran over, and so I was going to do all that I could to keep that from happening. And he finally outgrew that, and he outgrew me holding on to him like that. But in my mind, that danger was real. So I think that if we could see danger happening, we would do all that we could to spare somebody. And that's what's going on in the United States today. There is danger coming that you can see it if you look, and you can see the danger. You can see quickly freedoms are disappearing. And I know there's people that think we're crazy when we're saying that, but it just takes a little bit to spoil everything. And I think it's coming. When I was young, little, remember last week I told you a bunch of stories about my Aunt Wanda. Well, I thought of another story that would go along with what we're talking about today. And I was staying with her, and I wasn't in school yet, so I was probably about 4 years old. And we went down the street to her good friend's house, and they had a basement. And they told me, what happened was they got busy talking in the living room, but before they got sat down and visiting, they told me, do not go through that door. Don't do it. Well, I didn't know it, but what that door was, it was leading to their basement, and they had a stairwell there, but they didn't have a handrail. You had to stay up against the wall, and you walked in the door, and then you had to turn to the left and walk down the side of the wall, down the stairs. No handrail on that side, but they all knew that. They knew the danger of it, and they knew how to navigate it. But I was 4 years old. I didn't know the danger of it. I didn't know to walk in the door, turn the light switch on, turn to the left, and go down the stairs holding on to the handrail. I didn't know, but I did know how to disobey. And so they got busy doing their thing, and curiosity killed the cat. I opened the door. Being dark, I didn't think anything of it, and I walked right in. Well, what do you think I did? I walked right in, and I walked right off of the stairwell and fell to the bottom of the, onto the basement floor. And I can remember laying there at 4 years old on the basement floor, looking up at my aunt and her friends standing in the stairwell, scared to death that I had killed myself. And I can remember my head, swimming and being disoriented. And if they tried to keep me from the danger, they warned me about the danger, but I didn't listen. And I think that's where we are in the United States. We're warning. I'm not a preacher, I'm not a pastor, but our preachers and our pastors are warning. We are warning. There's people on YouTube that are warning, and they're trying to tell you to prepare for your family, have food, grow a garden, you know, people come to my mind like Danny and Wanda at Deep South Homestead, and Living Traditions Homestead, and Roots and Refuge, excuse me, Whippoorwill Holler, all these different ones that are trying to show you, you know, Needy Homesteader, how to bake bread and how to grow gardens and how to take care of your livestock. All these things that are basic, back to basic things to get your family out of all of the mess and all of the hoopla. Step back from all of that and say enough is enough. We see the danger coming and we're pulling our family out of it. And that's what our family's has been doing, Howie and I, and now Blade and Cheyenne and other family members. We're trying to do all that we can so that we see those days approaching and we want to be ready. We're not you know, we're not trying to hoard so much stuff back that we just have everything. I don't know that it's possible to have everything. Our farm can't grow everything. We have to purchase things. We have to have emergency supplies, and we have to have first aid stuff, and we have to do all these things. But you know, when we see these things coming, we need to warn, and we're doing that now. We're warning. All these homestead channels, all these YouTube channels are warning, and they're and it's not to scare people. We're not trying to be fear mongers. We're just trying to say, hey, there's danger over there. You know, you can come over here and you can live and you can be successful and you can thrive even though all this stuff is going on. But beware of those cliffs. Beware, you're going to fall off of that into something that you can't return from. I think here in the United States, and I keep saying the United States, I guess it's really all of us, the whole world, but I think that we're at a fork in the road. And sometimes you know both directions. You know, you've been somewhere and you know where this path takes you and you know where this path takes you. But the road that we're talking about, we've not been on before, personally, any of us. But we're at a fork in a road, and now you have a decision to make. Which road are you going to take? Are you going this way or are you going this way? Well, I know, because of the way I believe, I'm taking the road less traveled. I'm taking the road that's going to lead me out of here one day to live in my heavenly home. That road is less traveled. That road is the road that is steering clear of all this mess and all this trash that is going on. And I'm going this way. I'm going the way that in the spiritual. In the physical, I'm taking this road too, because this road is leading to a life that is freer. You can get rid of your stress. You can be peace, you know, have a life of peace. Knowing that you're prepared to whatever degree that your family chooses to be prepared, that brings you some peace, and that brings you security, and that brings you the ability to make better choices with things. And we've already discussed about living below your means and that kind of stuff. Not being a pauper or anything like that, but not having to have, you know, the shiny gold object all the time. You remember in that movie, was it The Lord of the Rings, where he wanted that little ring, that Schmeagol guy? You know, remember what happened? I mean, he had to have that. We don't have to have all that stuff. We can make it without living to where we're in debt up to our eyeballs. That commercial is one of my favorite commercials, where the guy's on the lawnmower and he drives by and he says, "Somebody help me, I'm in debt up to my eyeballs," you know. And that is bondage, and we don't want to live with that bondage. We want to be free. And that's one of the things, providing for your own family, you know, living simpler, living below your means, getting back to the basics of things. there's freedom in that. Now, it wouldn't be me if I didn't bring a little scripture verse here. The one I picked for today is Micah 6:8. Now, I'm going to paraphrase Josie style. The verse says, what does the Lord require of you? Well, number one, we know first and foremost salvation. We have to be saved. We have to know Jesus, right? To make it to heaven. Secondly, so the scripture says, what does the Lord require of us? To do justly, to love mercy, and walk humbly with thy God. Okay, so how do we do that? How do we do those things? Well, we do the right thing, even if it goes against the flow. You know, even if everyone else is saying, hey, jump off this building. My parents always used that analogy. I guess they learned it in parent school. I don't know. But you remember your parents would say, if everybody else jumped off a bridge, would you jump off of it too? You know, I don't remember using that with Blade, but my parents did, and I've heard others say that too. So, do the right thing, even if it goes against the flow. When everyone else is saying, this is the way to go, this is what we should do, if it doesn't match up with your beliefs, if it doesn't match up with your moral standard, then go against the flow. If you lose a few friends, if you can't join a club or whatever it is because you don't stand for the things that they're preaching and the things that they stand for, then you haven't lost anything other than not being a member of something that you really don't belong to anyways. You really don't agree with them, so what's the big deal about not getting, to be along with them? We've had so many people, Howie and I have in our lifetime, that's called us fun suckers and fuddy-duds and all kinds of things because we didn't participate, they would have parties and if it was like a cookout or something like that, hey, but if it was a party, drinking and carrying on and all that kind of stuff, we just didn't go. And people, we were called names because of that, but it didn't hurt us. We're all right? Go if you have to go against the flow because they're teaching and believing something that it goes against your moral standards, then so be it. Get back to the basics of things. Be truthful in all your ways. And there's just when Blade was growing up, we were just very stern about that, about telling the truth, not telling a lie. And, we, even when he was a little bitty boy, we would quote the scripture about all liars have their place in the lake of fire. Because I think sometimes we overlook that. It's just a little white lie. It's just a little thing. I caught a fish and the story is this, but it's really this. Well, be truthful in all your ways. Be truthful. Be a good neighbor. We've talked about that before. Be a good neighbor. Our neighbor guy, Mr. Chandler, he let us use his tractor. Remember several weeks back and we got the cold spell, Texas, and we were all in a big mess. Well, we had to break ice on our ponds and our tractor quit running. And so poor little Blade was having to go out there and break the ice just, with the bar and going out there, and he was having struggles with it. And so our neighbor let us borrow his tractor. And we've had it here for several weeks now. And he was gonna be off work for a few weeks and was gonna take his tractor back, and which was fine with us. It was borrowed and we needed to return it. And so we didn't even get to take it to him. He came himself, walked down here to our farm to get the tractor, and we had diesel there to put back in his tractor, and he refused the diesel. He said, no, I don't want that. Y'all keep that. You're going to need it. And it touched my heart. It really did. And people are so kind. So I said, well, we want to pay you for letting us use your tractor. And he said, all I want is being a good neighbor. You know, that's payment enough, being a good neighbor. And I'm thankful that we have a good neighbor that was that way for us. And so be a good neighbor to those around you. If you borrow something, return it, and try to return it in better shape than when you got it. Fill it with gas if the person will let you fill it with gas. You know, if you borrowed a vehicle, maybe rinse it off in the car wash. Howie's family, he has an aunt that every time she brings back a pie dish or a covered dish, something that she's taken home from your house, of course, she does it out of superstition, I think. She throws a little piece of candy or something in there because she's superstitious about bringing it back empty. I got tickled. I thought, well, maybe she ought to put a pie in it or something and return it. That would be a good idea, wouldn't it? If somebody made you something and you had to return a dish to them, wouldn't it be nice to put something back in it, you know, like another casserole, and take their dish back to them with the casserole in it? I'm not talking like if they brought you something like they were bringing a meal because somebody was sick or somebody was, you know, there had been a death or something like that. I'm not talking about that. But just that was a kind gesture, so in turn you do a kind gesture back for them. That would be a thought. The next thing I had was, how about doing something nice for somebody without getting caught? And, you know, a lot of people are okay with doing something nice, but they want recognition for doing that nice thing. You know, we gave money to the church. We want recognition for it. We want a plaque on this pew because our family gave money for that plaque. Or, you know, we gave clothing to this person, and they want recognition. And I say, how about doing the nice thing and just doing it and going on and not letting anyone know that you did it? I think that there's much more blessing and reward in that than saying, hey, look what I did. Look what I did. You know, let's get back to the basics of things. Doing things, not let the left hand know what the right hand's done. Let's do that. Let's try that. Stop blaming everybody else for what's going on. Stop, you know, if something's not right in your life, don't stop blaming everybody else for it. Look at yourself and see if there's something that maybe you're kind of at fault for. Maybe you had a bad attitude, or you snapped at somebody and it caused them to snap back at you. You know, check our attitudes and make sure that we're on the up and up. Always admit your mistakes and learn from them. Always admit your mistakes. That's been a hard one for me sometimes in this life, admitting my mistakes. But I have found as I get older that if you'll just admit it when you did something and learn from it, next time don't do that. Learn, you know, last time, you know, I let this cake bake for 35 minutes and it smoked up the kitchen. Well, next time, you know, check your temperature and then go in and check your cake and make sure you're not going to do that again. You're not going to burn it. Learn from your mistakes. We have opportunity in this life to do all kinds of things that would show the Lord to other people. Just in our simple living, just in our back to basics, living our morals, going back to the things that we were taught when we were young. Now, I know that we have made strides in this country. We don't iron our clothes with a sad iron anymore, putting it on the wood stove and waiting for it to heat up and having another iron that we can take off an iron. We don't have to do all of that kind of stuff anymore. We've got electric irons. We've got clothing that is less, you know, they don't wrinkle as much. We've got all kinds of things that we've progressed in. The kids, I finally got this phone after having flip phone for all this time. Well, the kids came in this weekend and they both have those Apple Watches, I think you call it, and they can do all that stuff on their wrist. And I thought, I'll never catch up with all this stuff. You know, you guys make beautiful videos. You're editing and stuff. You do such a good job. And I'm learning. And I just this week drove Howie's diesel truck. It's an automatic, or I'd have never been able to drive it because I can't drive a standard. But I finally braved it, learned how to do it, and fed the cows by myself for the first time in all the time that Howie and I have been here on the farm. And you know, I have to learn those things. And so we need to get back to the basics, get back to providing. What are the basics? Providing for our families, you know, making sure that we live our lives in a way that we point people to Jesus. What were those things that we read in the scripture in Micah? To what? Live justly, do justly, live our life morally, to love mercy. How do we love mercy? You know, be compassionate towards other people. It's not, you know, the things that are going down on the border now, that tears our heart out as far as all of the little children and those in needs. Of course we're compassionate and we're merciful that way, but it extends on past that. You have people that you pass every day in the towns that you live in that are in need all around you. You know, no, they may not have enough clothing, they may not have a place to live, they may not have enough food in their bellies. Howie's mom worked at the school, and she before she retired, and she knew the children that were coming to school, that the school meals, breakfast and lunch, were probably the best meals that they were going to eat the entire day. And some of them would go home on Friday and not have much to eat until they came back to school on Monday. So there are people that are hungry around you. You know, those are the things. Love mercy, love helping other people. Like I said, not so you can say, look at me, but because Jesus was merciful, we should be merciful. And then walk humbly with thy God. No, you, me, all of us that are believers, we need to know that God has got it. That we, you know, I think a lot of people, we say self-sufficient in the lifestyle that we live, that we're self-sufficient. But really and truly, we're doing a lot of work, and we're working towards not having to depend on others as much. But the one that we will always depend on is the Lord. And we have to walk humbly with Him, knowing that He is the author and the finisher of our faith. The very breath that we breathe is allowed by God Himself. And we have a plan. And get back to the basics of things. Shrug off all that stuff, all those burdens, all those things that the world tries to get us to carry. Shrug all those things off and say, this is the plan for me and my family. This is the direction we're going. This is the road less traveled, and this is the road that we're going to go on. And we're going to live how we believe that we should live in this life, and we're not going to compromise because the masses are telling us to compromise. Anyway, guys, I hope you got something out of this today. And this is Josie from Cedar Creek, and I sure love you and appreciate all that you do for me. And until next time, we're gone.